So I recently felt a strong cosmic urge to replay Mario Galaxy, when all of a sudden I realized something. As it turns out, I never tried to beat the game without touching a single evil coin before. Oh dear! Somehow Mario Galaxy managed to avoid our just crusade against golden currencies so far, and thus I sat down and tried to make it through the entire game without ever picking up a single coin, not realizing what mess I was about to get myself into. Because as a matter of fact, trying to beat Mario Galaxy entirely coinless is a very tight race against a very shiny foe. In this video, we're going to take a look back at my attempt to batter up Bowser completely broke. We'll dodge dangerous coin walls of death, outsmart clever coins that are trying to trick themselves into our purse, and attempt to solve a gigantic routing puzzle. All with a very honorable goal in mind, to figure out if Super Mario Galaxy can be beaten without ever touching a single coin. So gentle ladies, gentlemen, and gentle people in general, are you ready? Then let's do this. Alrighty right, before we hop into our cosmically important challenge, we first have to define what exactly counts as collecting a coin today. Luckily for us, the game features a helpful little coin counter of shame, as well as a coin score tracker that we can use. Here's the idea: whenever the dangerous little coin counter shows any number other than a 0, we consider Mario to be legally dead and dispose of the plumber's corpse in the next local black hole. Our final goal is to beat the game without ever changing the coin high score that the game tracks. What is the coin high score? Well, it's this little counter that the game shows on the level select screen. Here the game displays how many coins in total were in our possession when we finish the stage. We consider our challenge a success if we manage to beat Bowser without ever increasing this score once. Cool, but what about the other coins in the game? What about the huge floating coins? These coins do not count towards the coin total. In theory, we should be fine to grab them, but we won't do that nonetheless because there wouldn't be any glory in that. These coins are obviously coins and they're banned as well. Next, how do we keep track of our journey? Well, by a wonderful overview chart, of course. Here's an overview of all the 6 different galaxy hubs, as well as the first and the final level. In this chart, we're going to carefully document the events of our journey. We're going to discuss each hub world jump by jump, and we're going to note down any potential coin incidents that might take place in them. Hooray! Finally, what are we up against today? What strategy have the coins settled on to make our lives difficult and plentiful? You see, the problem is the following. Since Galaxy is a 3D game that features very complex gravity, it is usually easily possible for us to dodge random rogue coins along the way. Coins are hardly a problem during normal gameplay. However, there are many spots in the game where the coins just straight up prevent us from proceeding without any way to dodge them. And that is actually a huge problem because of Galaxy's unique game structure. Which brings us to Galaxy's unique game structure. You see, the main galaxies in Mario Galaxy are mission-based. There are some exceptions and exploits to this, but normally we select the first mission in each galaxy, and only once we collected this star, the next mission unlocks, and so on. And this brings us to the coin's evil plan. You see, there is a surprisingly high amount of stars that we can't reach because coins just obviously block the path in an absolutely unavoidable way. But because of the game's mission-based structure, a coin that blocks a star does not only block us from reaching that star, the coin also blocks us from reaching all stars that come after, since all the missions unlock one by one. Because of this, many galaxies in the game are partially or even fully locked for us, which brings us to our main problem this run. In each hub world, we have to unlock the final boss battle by collecting a certain amount of power stars. Our big challenge is to find ways through the galaxies that allow us to collect 60 stars in total, a surprisingly tricky routing problem. Cool, there's just one more thing that we have to quickly waffle about. We play the game on a new save file and on a new profile of the game. Why do I mention this? Well, because it means we can't play as Mario's highly gifted brother Luigi, because Luigi only unlocks after we beat the game once. And with this, let's hop into the game for good. It's the evening of the Star Festival, everyone is excited to watch some comets when all of a sudden, oh no, Bowser pops up and ruins the party by not only kidnapping Princess Peach, but the entire Mushroom Kingdom castle. Mario takes a good beating and afterwards awakens in front of a small rabbit. It's a normal workday in the plumbing profession. However, we are already confronted with our first problem here. You see, we are now tasked to catch 3 rabbits. 2 of those rabbits we can grab without any problems. The final one, however, well, that one hides in a crater that features a devilishly clever positioned coin atop. So it took me a couple of tries, but fortunately it is actually possible to drop into the hole without touching that coin, meaning we have an actual run on our hands. Hooray! We grab the rabbits, meet Rosalina, get our personal pet Luma that enables us to spin, and would you believe it? After a short platforming sequence, we are already playing the game proper. The beginning of the game can be platformed through without any shiny coincidences. We are already platforming to the first hub world. We are already off to the terrace. The Good Egg Galaxy is the first major galaxy here, and luckily for us, there are no major dangers lurking there. Neither is the Honey Hive Galaxy a huge threat to our run. There are a couple of odd coin obstacles that we carefully have to platform past, and there is a slightly tricky trick jump to get into a bubble waiter coinless, but nothing that could stop a dedicated plumber on a mission. However, there is something else that's slowly becoming quite apparent in these levels that is going to cause us quite a headache throughout the entire run. 2 things actually. So first, the health situation. As it turns out, Mario has to be a tough little plumber today, because he won't be able to recover any life during the run. Because for whatever sadistic reason, Nintendo decided that coins are the only thing that heals Mario in Galaxy, which is an obvious problem for obvious reasons. The fact that we can't heal ourselves makes a lot of stages that would otherwise be trivial actually decently challenging. The first boss in the Good Egg Galaxy, for example, actually managed to kill me once, simply because I had taken a bit of damage earlier that I wasn't able to recover. But that's more of a mild annoyance than a major threat. The second thing that we have to keep in mind, well, we have to talk about the 2 golden rules of goldless enemy engagement. Almost all enemies in Galaxy drop coins if we defeat them. However, they do not always drop coins, which brings us to the 2 golden rules of goldless enemy engagement. Rule 1, spin to win. Rule 2, stomp to bomb. The thing is the following. Most enemies in the game only drop coins if we stomp them, but drop star bits if we defeat them with Mario's spin attack. And thus we try to fight enemies whenever possible using the spin attack and try to avoid stomping at all costs. Awesome. So the terrace would be quite a relaxing start to our adventure if it weren't for one problem that we haven't talked about so far. The loop-de-loop Galaxy. What's the problem with the loop-de-loop Galaxy? Well, I'll tell you what the problem with the loop-de-loop Galaxy is. We're supposed to race in a loop-de-loop on top of a manta ray here. Usually the loop-de-loop Galaxy is just a weird but fun little minigame, but not today. Oh no, because along the entire loop-de-loop of the loop-de-loop Galaxy, clever coins have placed themselves in strategically beneficial positions, which turns the fun little loop-de-loop into a terrifying loop of death and pain. The minigame here is the first time the coins really put up a fight today, but after about half an hour of loop-de-looping, I finally managed to complete the loop-de-loop coinless. Hooray! The first boss level doesn't pose any real threat, and would you look at this, our coin counter is still at 0, and we're already off to the fountain. So first, the good news. The Battle Rock Galaxy doesn't pose a major threat. It is possible to grab most of the stars in this galaxy without any major problems. The other major galaxy, however, is complicated. So I do not say this lightly, but the Space Chunk Galaxy is trash. First, the Pull Star Path mission. The Pull Star Path mission is terrible. Here we have to pull everyone's favorite plumber along a line of pull stars several times before platforming on top of intergalactic trash while collecting 5 power star bits. The huge problem? Well, the huge problem are the coins, of course. Clever coins just position themselves exactly at the spots between most of the pull stars, which makes pulling us through space here incredibly annoying. So I'm going to be honest here, this mission had me hard stuck. There are just so many unbelievably complicated coin layouts here in a row, it's garbage. However, we really need to find a way to make it past all the pull stars coinless. You see, this mission is the first one in the galaxy. If we do not find a way to solve this mess, we're locked out of all the other power stars here as well. And thus I took all my courage and started to look into a route to get us past the stars reliably. So first, the first set of stars. As it turns out, here we can actually grab the first star like this and then fly over to that one. The next one is easily solvable as well. Here we just need to do a backflip away from the coin to safely reach the little planet. The final spot, however, oh dear. That one is tricky. In this spot, we first have to do a backflip to pull Mario away from the coin so that our plumber floats into the wrong direction. If done correctly, this gets us in a position that allows us to float past these coins and to reach this section here. And then, well, then we're off to the final pull star problem. We now have to build enough momentum down here to be able to get in reach of this pull star to the right. If we do everything correctly, we can actually grab that one before... Hooray! All of this is quite tricky to do, but luckily for us we're under no sort of time pressure and can take as much time as we want, which sadly already brings us to the next problem. So the airship attack star is easy. The Terrantox tangled web star, however, is not. Here we face the same problem as before, but in reverse. This time we do not have to pull Mario towards the stars, but pull on webs to shoot Mario. And once again, the shooting paths are occupied by clever coins. Luckily for us, this time the problem is simpler to solve. You see, as it turns out, Nintendo decided to give these tiny planetoids a ridiculously large gravity field. We can pretty much shoot Mario into the void on purpose and he will still land on top of a planet, perfectly healthy and perfectly broke. This, however, wasn't a real problem in this galaxy. This foe is, of course, the evil three-eyed spider Terrantox. So what's the problem here? Well, the clever poisonous spider not only traps plumbers in its dangerous spiderweb, but coins as well. And these coins, unfortunately, become unwebbed as soon as we point over them, which just happens all the time while aiming during the fight, turning this fight into quite a challenge, is what I would say if we weren't able to outsmart the coins here for once. You see, all that we have to do is to activate the coins before actually starting the fight, and then wait for the dumb coinlings to despawn, which solves the problem. Hooray! And with this we actually have built up a quite comfortable power star lead. Our star count is currently noticeably ahead of the game's requirement to unlock the boss level here. So it isn't a huge deal that we're about to run into the first stage in which we are hard blocked. You see, as it turns out, we can't get the star in the rolling green galaxy because there is a coin that is obviously blocking the path right at the beginning. But that's no huge deal. The boss stage, however, can be finished coinless without too many troubles, and would you look at this? With this we already cleared the second hub without any coins. We are actually making really good progress so far. Up we go to the kitchen. So unfortunately for us, the coins in the kitchen have been cooking. The first problem we run into here is at the end of the Beach Bowl galaxy. Here we activate a timer and then have to quickly wall jump in between a bunch of coins. So this problem can luckily be solved by some creative platforming, and most of the other stars in this galaxy are easy to grab as well. The secret star, however, is not. Here the game wants us to use the ice flower to wall jump upwards along some waterfalls. The problem? Well, I can tell you what the problem is. We can't get the ice flower that we need, because in order to spawn it into the stage, we first have to touch a terribly shiny big coin, which is not going to happen. But without the coin, there is no ice flower, and without the ice flower, there is no way to make it up the waterfall, which means we can't get this star. So on its own, that wouldn't be that big of a deal. But this golden coin isn't the only golden coin we encounter in the kitchen, which already brings us to the ghostly galaxy. So, a quick disclaimer here. The Ghostly Galaxy is actually my favorite galaxy in the game. In my humble opinion, this galaxy is among the very best ghost houses Nintendo ever crafted. I really like this galaxy. I was really looking forward to platforming through this galaxy, which is why I took the upcoming problem really personal. You see, we can't even get the very first power star in the Ghostly Galaxy, which is even worse than it may sound. But one thing after the other. The huge problem is in this room. Here the game wants us to transform Mario into a frightening Boo and to use our newly gained ghostly powers to phase through a bunch of solid bars. What's the problem? Well, the problem is that we can't get the bush room, because of course this item once again only spawns if we touch a dumb huge floating coin. We can't get the first star in this galaxy, preventing us from getting any of the power stars here. And that's not even all. You see, as bad luck would have it, this mission happens to be the very mission in which we rescue Luigi.
Thunder.
Once Luigi is properly rescued, he tends to get lost in a couple of stages a couple of times afterwards, rewarding us with a power star for each time that we save him. All these stars are really easy to get coinless, but we are locked out of all of them because we never save Luigi in the first place, because we can't make it past these bars, because we can't turn into a boo because of this coin. This dumb coin here is single-handedly locking us out of about 10 power stars in total. How disgusting! So luckily for us, we did very well in the first 2 hub worlds, which allows us to get enough power stars to open up the boss here nonetheless, but our total star buffer got a lot tighter in the kitchen. We really don't have much room for mistakes in the, well, bedroom. The third boss battle is easily doable without any major problems, which means we enter the bedroom with a perfectly broken bank account. And with this, we are in the bedroom. So, interestingly enough, Nintendo actually made a typo when translating this room into English. You see, they fumbled a letter here, which led to them accidentally calling the room bedroom as if it were a room to sleep in, instead of calling it the bedroom, which I'm very certain was the original intention, because the bedroom is a bedroom. A very bad room. So there are 3 major galaxies in this hub: the Gusty Gardens, the Freeze Flame Galaxy, and the Dusty Dunes one. And at least the Gusty Garden Galaxy isn't too terrible. The only star that we can't get here is the secret star, because we would once again have to touch our new arch enemy, a big golden coin. But other than that, the stage is fine. The other 2 major galaxies in the bedroom, however, are bad. First, the Freeze Flame Galaxy. The first mission here is built around the Ice Flower, and we face the exact same ice problem as before. We can't spawn in the Ice Flower without collecting a big coin before, and we can't proceed without the Ice Flower. There is nothing we can do here. We can't get a single power star in this galaxy. And that's just the beginning, because the Dusty Dune Galaxy is no better. The problem here lurks at the very end of the first mission. We're once again softlocked by a big golden coin. Here, we have to make it to the top of the tower, which requires us to reach a whirlwind. The whirlwind, however, can only be reached if we activate the big coin before. So we can't get a single star in either of these galaxies, which makes the star routing exceptionally tight here. If we want to unlock the boss level, we have to return to the previous hub worlds and see if we can somehow get the missing stars there. So luckily for us, there are some missions that we haven't talked about yet, because we haven't talked about the comet stars. You see, after a while, magical comets start to appear that alter the stages by adding a specific challenge to them. And luckily for us, a couple of these comet missions are quite easy for us to do. The Mario races aren't a big problem. Neither does it change much if we have to replay a mission with faster foes or are challenged to defeat a boss with only a single health point. These comets actually provide us with a couple of quick and easy to get power stars that we so desperately need. However, not every comet challenge is that simple, which brings us to the speed comet that is visiting the Space Chunk Galaxy. The Space Chunk Galaxy Speed Comet Challenge is rubbish. So do you remember the terrible Pull Star Challenge from before? Well, we have to do it again within 4 minutes with additional coins and in a single go, which is just wow. So the actual problem is not the timer. The timer adds a little bit of difficulty, but it isn't terribly unforgiving. The big problem is that there are no checkpoints during the comet missions. You see, the way we previously managed to reach the star was by making heavy use of Mario Galaxy's generous checkpoint system. We only had to make it past each section coinless once, but during the speed run, there are no checkpoints anymore, meaning we have to make it past this spot, then dodge this coin with a backflip, then get the sideways momentum here to fly in a weird angle into the next section dodging the coins, then manage to reach the final pull star here in such a way that Mario bounces off of the debris towards the star and then platform over the space junkyard, in which we can't even see where we're jumping to while dodging the terrible coin circles on the ground. We have to do all of this without making a single mistake at any point in between. We have to play all of this flawlessly from beginning to end before the timer runs out. And thus, I focused on the challenge ahead and immediately floated into a coin. And again, and again. It's really difficult to get past these spots consistently. But we are a plumber on a mission of cosmic significance. We are not going to get paid today. And slowly, I was making progress. After a bit, I consistently made it to the long pool star section. A couple of shiny deaths later, I made it past this section for the very first time, only to die to the coin circle jump afterwards immediately. And again. And again. It took me dozens and dozens of tries until I finally figured out a way to do this jump consistently. And would you look at this? We made it past all the obstacles and we already collected 4 out of the 5-star pieces. All that is left to do is this jump here. And first I took all my courage. I focused like never before. I activated my capital G gamer mode. Me and Mario became one. I concentrated, I jumped, and I fumbled the jump, oh no. But no biggie, it only took me 20 minutes until I finally got another chance to pull this off, and this time, I fumbled the jump again. What in all the fuzzy's names is going on? The jump isn't that difficult. So eventually, I managed to pull it off. Hooray! With this we actually collected enough power stars to open up the boss level in the bedroom. Gentle ladies, gentlemen and gentle people in general, the boss galaxy doesn't pose any huge problems. We're off to the engine room and our coin counter is still at a whopping nothing. Hooray! The engine room is very good news for us. Maybe it is karma, maybe we were just energized from our fabulous win before. Maybe Nintendo's designers planned it this way, or maybe it is just destiny. But as it turns out, no major galaxy in the engine room poses any major problems. We can get a whopping 5 stars in the Sea Slide galaxy, another whopping 5 stars in the Toy Time galaxy, and another 5 stars in the Gold Leaf galaxy, solving our power star starvation situation and bringing us back on track. There are no major roadblocks along the way, just a couple of minor annoyances. Even better, the boss level is once again possible without us being forced to grab any coins. We can leave this galaxy without any major coin complications. So do you understand what that means? Now, there is only one thing left standing between us and a glorious coinless victory, the final galaxy hub, the garden. But we haven't won yet. There are still a bunch of problems along the road. First, we can't grab the purple coin star in the Gate Galaxy because, as most of you attentive people probably already figured, purple coins are indeed coins. What a disgusting mission. Second, there are a bunch of other problems blocking our path in the Garden Galaxy Hub, which brings us to the Bubble Blast-Off mission in the Deep Dark Galaxy. The Double Blast-Off Power Star is one of the most sadistic things that I have ever encountered in all of my years fighting the good coinless fight. It's just so evil. So at first glance, everything appears to be quite normal. We can reach the watermelon planet without any problems. We can grow the watermelon. We can even grow the watermelon to its full size and spawn in the power star. However, we can't grab the star for very obvious sadistic reasons. This here is the power star. You understand the sick trap that the coins have built? This star is directly atop a coin, which is a huge problem. You see, so far during our run, we always killed Mario if we grabbed the coin by accident. This ensured that the total high score coin amount always stayed at 0, even if we made a mistake, because the score is only saved once we touch a power star, which brings us to this sadistic trap. Do you understand the huge problem? Once we grab the power star, we immediately after drop into the coin. So what happens if we drop into a coin after touching a power star? Well, I don't know. We might not pick up the coin and are safe, or we might grab the coin during the cutscene and have it added to our total. If we end up grabbing the coin during the cutscene, however, well, if this happens, then our total high score coin counter is no longer at 0, and that shameful high score gets saved immediately, which means we have no other choice but to delete our save file if that happens. So I actually stood in front of the star for far longer than I'd like to admit, trying to figure out how to handle this terrifying situation. Minutes turned into hours and hours into days, but I was desperately pondering over the question how to proceed. And after what I assume were several weeks of deep watermelon meditation, I came to the conclusion that I'm not going to touch this power star with a stick. If the worst comes to worst, we will have to find it out the hard way. But as long as there is any hope to get the missing stars somewhere else, I'm not touching this star, which in turn locks us out of a couple of other stars in the deep dark galaxy for now. So fortunately for us, the stars in the Dreadnought galaxy are easily reachable without any major problems. Unfortunately, however, we are locked out from getting the star in the Matter Splatter galaxy for very big, shiny and floating reasons, which leaves us with only the Melty Molten galaxy. The Melty Molten galaxy is the last obstacle between us and the final showdown against Bowser. And let me tell you, the Melty Molten galaxy isn't melting around. Holy fuzzy, this galaxy is quite a challenge. The first mission is already complicated by a bunch of ruthless coins in a wall jumping spot, but luckily we can actually avoid those with a bit of creative platforming. However, we run into our next problem towards the end of the mission. Here the whole planet collapses all of a sudden, with the central island slowly sinking below the lava current. Usually, we just have to follow a linear path quickly to reach the power star before the whole island is taking an exceptionally hot bath. However, this path is locked for us because of, well, coins. So this is the first star in the galaxy. If we do not find a way to reach this star, we become locked out from all the power stars within it, making the whole power star routing incredibly tight, if not straight up impossible. We just have to get our plumber to the top here, but no matter what I tried, every possible path was blocked by dangerous shiny foes. And then, all of a sudden, I had an idea as clever as unfortunate for everyone's favorite plumber. So Mario, old friend, you have to be strong for a second because at the beginning of the collapsing island part, there's actually one of these 3 additional health mushrooms, which means we can take a total of 5 hits here before a poor plumber dies. So what was the strategy that I settled on? Well, let's call it strategic bottom burning. You see, if we just strategically dip Mario's backside in the lava at convenient occasions, then Mario's bottom burning paint jump animation actually buys us enough time to grab the star and hooray! With this, we're already off to the Through the Meteor mission, the next big challenge. What is the big problem with this mission? Well, it's once again the ending sequence. You see, the final bit here has us once again roll on top of a ball, this time atop dangerous rotating lava. The problem? Well, the problem is quite obvious, isn't it? The problem is that the entire path is plastered with glossy, run-ending coin links, of course. We have to somehow navigate our huge ball through all the obstacles without touching any coins. And this is no easy task. But we've already come so far. We've dodged hundreds of difficult coin layouts. We sacrificed our brother and pulled Mario with breathtaking speed and precision along power stars. We defeated several bosses and dodged a Russian watermelon roulette star. We manta ray surfed like no one before, got soft locked because of dozens of golden coins, and still managed to make it to this point. This dumb ball corridor is not going to stop us. And thus, I got the ball rolling. Over and over, I rolled through the meteor until I eventually got really good at rolling the ball. It took me many more tries than I'm willing to admit, but eventually I made it up to this section coinless. All that is left to do now is to make the final jump here, and then we can grab the power star. We take a deep breath, and as we breathe out, we jump, and hooray! We actually pulled it off. This was one of the final stars missing. But things are about to get even better. You see, all the ball roll training actually made me wonder if we maybe have missed something in the first ball mission. And thus we return to the golf court from the very beginning of the game, looking for a potential way to roll this ball to its logical conclusion. And would you look at this? As it turns out, we do not have to drop into the hole at the beginning. As it turns out, it is possible to just jump off of the course here, allowing us to skip the dangerous coin drop, which actually makes it possible to grab this star as well. So gentle ladies, gentlemen, and gentle people in general, this is it. That was actually the last star that we needed to hit the required 60 star mark to open up the final stage. All that is left to do for us is to defeat Bowser in his home base and to generate a new universe. A simple task, considering what we have overcome so far. The final level is actually possible without any major problems. And so, is the final boss fight against Bowser. We actually did it. As it turns out, it is possible to beat Super Mario Galaxy without ever touching a single coin. We really pulled it off. Hooray! That one was honestly a lot of fun, and it's a challenge that I can wholeheartedly recommend. It's a blast to play Mario Galaxy like this. Before I wrap this up, just two more things. So first, a gigantic, universe-creating thank you to all my wonderful patrons whose names are currently scrolling by. These wonderful people not only regularly get access to small bonus content and additional scripts, but their generous support is also the power star powering this entire operation. A huge thank you to them for that. Second, there's an obvious question still left unanswered, isn't there? What does actually happen if we grab the dangerous power star atop the melon? Would this have worked, or would devouring the star have deleted our save file? And the answer is... well, I have honestly no idea. The thing is, I'm writing the scripts for these videos in advance, and I can't check what happens once we grab the star during the writing process, because if it happens to fail, I'd have to delete the entire save file that this video is based on. So we have to find out together what happens. Is the result very good, or is the result very bad? Let's grab the star, and the result was... So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you did, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up and maybe feel especially universal today and want to hit the subscribe button as well. Finally, if you really enjoyed the video and want to support content like this, then there is also the option to support me via Patreon. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, lots of hugs.